Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Happy
Woohoo!
4th of July week.
Short week.
Short week is good.
I realized that this morning. I was like, oh, wow, that's Friday. Markets are closed.
Yep. So we won't be
Yeah,
having a call Friday in honor of
no,
the 4th of July.
that is
So everyone
true.
gets a day off, including us. So that'll be good.
Every day's a day off.
Not for me.
Not for me.
Not for,
Well, I keep myself busy.
not for me.
Yep.
Hasn't been for a long time.
Hasn't been for me. It's even on vacation, it's not a day off. It's always
I
something going
guess,
on.
I guess the day I get off will be the day it's done.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right.
I kind of feel the same
Oh,
way.
I thought
So,
I had it on my earphones.
okay.
Uh,
All right. Well, let's get rolling. Um, It's interesting. Last week, you know, I was out of town, but was still involved. But a lot of things happened last week. And I was thinking back on it. We had started out a week ago Saturday, when Iran had their nuclear capability pretty much taken away. Um, then this week we had a NATO summit, and NATO agreed, except for Spain, to raise their contribution to the defense spending to 5% of their GDP, which is kind of a big deal for that. And then we had a trade deal signed, a semi-trade deal signed with China on rare earths, which was good news. Last night, a crucial vote on the big bill was passed, so that was conceived as good news. The market looks at it as several things, but one thing I think it looks at is that the tax cuts will remain in place, not putting a further burden on the consumers, which will keep the economy pretty much rolling. And then Friday, I think Trump decided that Canada was going to start a digital services tax on our big companies, our big tech companies, and so they discontinued talks with Canada after they signed with China. And then I just saw it this morning, Canada dropped the digital services tax this morning so they can continue negotiating tariffs with the US. And then, of course, it's July. So there's a lot more confidence that we might see a rate drop. And all these things together equal momentum. And you'll just look at the charts, and we will. And everything is just, the tide is rising, and we're seeing just about everything rise with it. So if you're not making money in this market, you probably never will, because this is the direction we want markets to go for sure. Today we have the ISM Manufacturing Index, construction spending, and the job openings report. So be aware of that. Let's get rid of this one. And with all that, I was looking at putting out lists for the week, and ended up with 51 stocks on 3 lists, which is the most I've had in a long time. So, I mean, that just shows that we're seeing a little turn. I mean, the momentum trading list, I mean, we have Disney on it. We have NASDAQ on it. We have Cardinal Health on it. TSM. We have, I think, 19 stocks on this list. So, I mean, there's plenty more. I have plenty more, but these are the ones I looked at, and with all the charts. And you can go to the platinum. You can go to the platinum channel, go to charts of interest, and you'll see them all. These are the momentums. Okay, you can click on them; they go higher, bigger, lots of them. And then we have, the stocks traded under 200 list. We had 18 of those on there. I have a whole list of them, but I can't put them all on because they're just many. Then we have several from last week. Okay, and we'll look at some of those. So when you swing trade, we're not day trading for the most part. You can be in these, for anywhere from a day or two to several weeks. So like Whirlpool here, we've had on, this is probably the 3rd week we've had Whirlpool still in there. You can go look at the charts as they closed on Friday. And then this morning I put out just the swing trade list, and we have, how many of those under 14 on here. Okay, again, use a trading plan. These are not buy lists; these are watch lists of stocks that meet certain criteria, and you can we put in I put in the verbiage to tell you what it is, and you guys can look at it and apply it to your own trading list. So utilize this as a resource, and maybe give you a start up in the morning on Fridays. Okay, let's take a look at some charts. Monday's always busy for us. Let's start here. And so we were in consolidation, for a while. We've talked about it, kind of consolidating above the 200, and again, if you were an investor, Paul Tudor Jones, and got in and used this 200 as a line, you're doing very well. Now you're seeing that the S&P is now broken above its 9, and now we're swinging up. Let's go see, move this up, see where the sell orders are on the S&P. You see, we're going to open up above, right about where above the Bollinger Band. We got sell orders, up at 624. So we're starting to see this momentum swing. You're seeing it down in the oscillators. Let's go to the DIA, which is the Dow Jones ETF. Same thing. Look at this swing that we've had. We were just following the 200 for a while, following the 200. Now you got to swing up. Now you got to make a decision. Okay, if I want to invest in an ETF on the Dow Jones, is this the time? Okay, we're starting to see a little bit of a break, up above the Bollinger Band. Again, you're pretty close to it. You got upwards moving averages. You're above the 20, you're above the 9, you're above 50. We're going to open a little bit higher. So again, we're starting to see everything start to move. And then you see the Qs. Same kind of thing. We popped up right above the upper Bollinger Band. We're going to open above again today. Again, the reason for this, you can go look, it's the Mag 7s, and we'll look at those in a second. We'll go over here, Bitcoin, real quick. Bitcoin's back up in this third zone that we looked at between support and resistance. Move it back. You can see here's a zone, and here's a zone. So again, we're consolidating sideways. We'll see if it can get back up over the high, which is around 112. If it does that, then 115 will be next, and 120 after that. But again, just kind of staying within these two zones, and we'll see what happens. We're getting a little bit of an indication on the MACD that it's going to pop up, but we'll see. A lot of money's going back into equities right now, so we'll see what happens. Bitcoin's hung in there. NVIDIA took off. I mean, it's been on a nice run above the 9. Okay, so I mean, even on a swing trade, if you would have gotten in on an investment, where it crossed over the 200, consolidated, came up, consolidated. Now it's back up right in the upper Bollinger Band. I don't like buying outside of that, but if you're an investor, you've got a golden cross of the 50 over the 200. This might have been an opportunity to get in as an investor, and certainly as a trader. The way that this is looking now, and we've been waiting for kind of a breakout, and we're starting to see it, and it just reflects back on all the news that we're seeing lately. Meta, same kind of thing on Meta. Here's the 200, and we're starting to see it. There's 4 days. We have a little bit of resistance on Meta, which we don't have on some of the other Mag 7s, but again, rolling. Microsoft. This one's been on a pretty good tear. You can see, I mean, just nice right along the 9. Now we've come up against resistance, and that's about where we're going to open. We'll see if we can get past that. Sell orders above it. Sometimes you see it pop up. It keeps going, that line resistance will recalculate to the upside. If not, we'll see it come back down. But you still got a little room before the 9 comes up and challenges that resistance level. Google. This one's interesting, because this one, again, is past the 200 again. Now, again, is this enough to say I'm going to go in as an investor, because it crossed the 200? Not really in my mind yet, because we've played this game for a while, up and down above. I want to see this meaningfully go up and see all the oscillators move up. We haven't got a crossover on the MACD yet on Google, but as a swing trade goes, starting to look pretty good as a swing, or maybe even an investment. Okay, we're going to open up here right below the Bollinger Band, and we have some sell orders just above that. So Google looks like it's moving a little bit also. Amazon, Zeihan. Same with Amazon. We're seeing it move up off the 9 for a nice little swing up. Got a crossover. Again, we were just watching it, kind of going along the 200, and now it's, it's kind of, it's not like Google. It didn't play around with it too much, tested it, but back up. So, I mean, investment wise, we're seeing the same kind of thing. And these are pushing the indices, the S&P, Qs, and even the Dow in some cases. Tesla had some interesting news, I think, this weekend about their sales. So they're going to open just a little bit down last time I looked at it from where they were. So be aware of Tesla. You see the oscillators are kind of moving down too. Palantir is going to be up today, but still kind of below the resistance level. We've been hitting this resistance. Bollinger Bands have been parallel. We're going to open right about here, but we're right below resistance. And then you've got sell orders right at the Bollinger Band too. Look at the look at the MACD. It's kind of trending down. Same with stochastic. Same with momentum because of this big candle. We'll see if it can regain some momentum today, but still closing below resistance on Palantir. We have some momentum stocks out there. Again, these are on the list. I can't go through them all. There's so many. Goldman Sachs. Okay. Intuit starting to take a, it was consolidating, and then popped up. Okay, watch for a little bit of sell orders above that. I still want to see this MACD cross over on Intuit, but we're starting to see that pop up a little bit. Disney of all things, you would think. There's Disney. Okay, just kind of rolling between the 9 and the upper Bollinger Band. Still want to see a little more strength on the MACD. NET. Cloudflare, same kind of nice run up, no resistance. We do have some sell orders at 198.14. And I got a whole bunch on the list. You can go into the Discord and see it. There's ICE. ICE is moving slowly up. You can see the Bollingers are starting to expand on ICE. But we have several more. We had 19 on the list. I'm sure you guys have some too. So just be aware. Under the 200. Okay, this is our second list. This one's been on. This is Whirlpool for a long time. It's under the 200. I mean, we got in at 83.03. We closed at 96.17, and it's still within the bounds of our trading plan. And again, sell orders here. We're not to the 200 yet, and we're not at resistance. This one's been pretty amazing. We've been in it almost 3 weeks. I mean, on a swing trade, pretty good, pretty easy money. ILMN, so another one. We're just slowly moving up. We got in this one back in this area. So just a slow mover between support and resistance. This one's kind of nice because, you might be able to get in at support, it comes back up, support. As long as we're rising, you're making money. This has been on a couple of weeks. BBWI. This one's been on a week or two. Again, got in back in here. Again, up above the 50. I got the Bollinger Bands bending the right way up, but unfortunately we have resistance right here at 30.75, and we closed at 30.06. So you may want to take a little off if you can get up to that point. Set a sell. Always set stops below so you don't lose any money on the downside. And let's look at a few new ones on the under the 200. Again, there's 18 of them. I can't go through them all. Prudential under the 200s, having a nice run on a nice moving up Bollinger Band. We're seeing the oscillators move up. IBZ, these are a couple of financial stocks, like Goldman Sachs. There's IBZ and Vesco. Looks the same as Prudential. We're starting to see that the money stocks kind of move a little bit. Watch out for, sell orders at 16.11. We're at 15.70 as of close. And ALGN, and sure I got this right. This is a health company. Okay, this one came down. It's been bouncing off the 9. We're seeing the 9 cross the 20. Got oscillators moving pretty good. So you got some ways to go here also on ALGN, but always try to get a better price. And these are under the 200. And we've got 15 more on the Discord you can go look at. Watch list of swing trades. EL. Okay, this is not the line where we bought in on. We bought in back right above when it got above the 200. We're seeing a lot of these 200s. So, if you like EL as an investment, this might be a time as an investment. It was certainly a time as a swing trade. We came up, we hit this sell orders and found resistance. So again, you may want to take a little off. We can bounce past that with this momentum we're seeing today. You got some room up to resistance. So you just kind of watch what happens today. SYF was on the list last week. Trying to run through these fast. Again, we got in last week as it was above the 9. It's closed above the 9. Had a nice run. Again, we're starting to see some sell orders here and then resistance above it. So don't be afraid to take some off or take half off and let the rest ride. But again, that was from last week. Reddit's kind of done a little sideways move, but back inside the Bollingers. We see this a lot inside the Bollingers, comes back over, catches on support, and then starts moving up again. So again, some sells, which we've touched on before. So, but that's up at 154.46. We closed at 143.01. So you might have some room on Reddit if you're in that. I know a lot of you might be. AMD was on the list. This is from last week too. Nice run, but you see we might be running out of steam as we get this sell orders and then right above its resistance. So if you're in AMD, we got in again. This is one of those that got above the 200. Might be a good investment, based on your trading plan. We broke through it, retested it, got back on the slide up, and there we are. So if you're in a swing, you might want to get out. If you're an investor, you're above the 200. And this one was on last week. We talked about Datadog. Okay, same kind of nice, got above the 200. A lot of these above the 200s. Okay, if you can break it and run, it's a good sign. It takes a lot to get past this 200. It takes a lot to get back down under it too. So again, these are watch lists. Riot will follow, this will follow Bitcoin, but above the 200. It came up, tested it, and went back up. A little bit of a roll over here, but I think we're going to see it, an upturn on Riot today. But again, use your support, use your resistance, get in at support, out at resistance, and you'll do fine. MPWR, another one. Nice run, right along the 200. We've seen this, it was just fighting the 200. Now it looks like it's moving up because we got the 9 moving up. We're above the 20. Got the 50 rolling towards the 200, rolling right along the Bollinger Band. You do have some sell orders right above it, but crossover the MACD, monolithic power systems, RJF. I mean, we have a lot. You can go look at these. RJF, another financial stock, playing around the 200. Actually didn't get too far below it, bounced off of it. Now it's caught some fire here too. Support at the 9. Resistant at the upper Bollinger Band, sell orders at 155.73. And we'll look at this one because this is the one that I've been watching. Berkshire came down, it's under the 9, but you're still above the 200. So as an investor, you came down and tapped it on the 200 and got in. You're still on the investment side. On the swing trade side, you're still touching that 9, so technically you still could be in. I believe this will probably still move up. I'm starting to see this flatten out a little bit. We'll see what happens, but as long as you're over that 200 as an investor, you're still doing okay. And UNH. It'll come up. UNH looked like it had a little pop. It went up like $6, but it's still right along support. But it did get above the 9. But look how long we've been watching this. We'll see what happens. We got the, we're at the 200. We're at the 9 right here. We're at the support level right here. Bollinger Bands right here. We got the 9 or the 50 racing down, but it still hasn't broke this support, in a meaningful way since way back here. So we'll still watch it. We're seeing a little bump on the stochastic. We're still a little bit above on the MACD, but it's on the list and something that we watch. That's all I'm going to say today. I took up 10. There's just so many. You guys, go look at the watch list. We put 3 of them out this week. Like I said, 51 different companies and charts on there. Use a plan. Use your plan that meets your criteria. That's not a buy list. It's just it's a nice list to go to find some potential that you may like. You may not like them, and then you may have your own also. So anyway, that's what I got today, Trent. Sorry, it was a busy day.
No problem. So this is a good week in my opinion. This is the VIX. We are below the green line, which is the 19. We're in that investable bucket. We've been there for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days. That pretty much all last week, including the start of today. That's encouraging. And what I really want to focus on is this 3 month average of the VIX. Um, Volatility has become a very popular place to invest. And volatility controlled funds have not participated in the month of June. That is significant. And this is one of those little things you pay attention to because they haven't participated, because they haven't put risk on. Volatility has been uh, suppressed to a point. But now that we're coming into the July 2nd, we're going to see the rolling off of Liberation Day and that week period, that period of time. And what that means is the averages are going to go from a realized volatility of 30 potentially down to this 17 mark. So this average chart, you'll see volatility drop from where it is today at 1945 to 17. What does that mean to you, the retail investor? That means roughly it's projected 100 billion in potential net buying could be in play between July 2nd and next week. That means volatility funds will adjust their risk on, risk off metrics to a risk on factor, and 100 billion will net buying. So that means they're shorting and they're buying, and that means 100 billion of net, so more positive, risk on will come into play between the July 2nd and mid next week. That's fantastic because that pushes equities and stocks higher. So, you look at some of the positions, for instance, in the tell sheet 12, and you've got these situations where we've had an incredible um, June because June's been a rebound month. We have rebounded from the lows in April to close to where we were in back in what is that February. So we've seen that with Affirm, we've seen that with uh, Advanced Micro Devices, ARM, Broadcom, Credo Technologies, IBM, IREN in a big way, looks to open up at 1473. Microsoft, we're right back to where we were in February. Wow, that's a rebound. It's a total rebound month. If you haven't participated in that, that's something to focus on, is to start to recognize these rebound patterns. You've seen the same. Microsoft's been unique because it just has had earnings and it's just continuously drifted up, gone against the whole fill the gap, element. It just keeps going. Micron, similar situation. Power Solutions, which is Bob from New York, put out there, found that out Friday, that went on Kerry's watch list. All of these have rebounded. What is encouraging to me is this Liberation Day rolling off on Wednesday and these VIX averages dropping towards 17, this 3 month average, and 100 billion coming into this market in net buying. And that is really encouraging to me because as we go into the following week, where I believe it's July 9th, if I'm correct, remember correctly, this is when the tariffs go back on with China, unless, Mark, you have some input on that. We're going to see the tariff talk go back in play. That could be a negative, or it could just be, let's extend it another 90 days, which means more positive, more equity risk on positioning will happen. We're seeing that with vol control funds. We're seeing that with systematic buying funds. take into account these are trillions of dollars that are based on a if then formula. If this happens, therefore this happens, and so on. And so as risk comes back on, I'm encouraged to see what happens with the tell sheet 12, with the swing trading list. I suspect the swing trading list is going to get even bigger because of these kind of events. So be aware, use this as a part of your toolbox when you're looking at the broader market. Look at where the majority of money is flowing and how it's flowing. Volatility control funds, look at the VIX, compare the daily to the 3 month, and look at where are we at in that. Right now, we're in a really positive zone, and I'm encouraged. And I think we're going to roll through July unless some headline or somebody blows somebody up in a positive manner. This could be a really good summer overall. As we get further into the third quarter, I think this could be very positive. The whole Fed thing, lowering rates, raising rates, major debate. I think the markets are starting to say, you know what, this is a political thing. We're just going to discount this and move forward. But overall, I'm very optimistic about this week. It is a short week. Take that into account. As I wrote in my morning letter, typically this would be a very slow week, but as Sarah Connor in the Terminator said, the machines just keep coming and they will not stop. So the whole idea of going away on 4th of July week for vacation, I think is out the door, and the machines are going to kick back in high gear as of Wednesday, in my opinion. So be ready, be
Wow,
prepared.
Terminator. Using the
Ah,
Terminator. Wow, that's pretty good.
dude, over the weekend, my wife, Ginger, hates the whole idea of AI. She just, especially from an artistic standpoint, it just takes the art out of the human element out of creating art. And she goes, I just hate this. She goes, haven't you seen the movie The Terminator? Haven't you seen the movie The Terminator? They just keep coming. They will not stop. And I'm like, Sarah Connor, there it is.
Yeah, you're
So
married to Sarah Connor.
I am.
Yeah.
And someday she'll be wheeling up pretty much a AR-15 if it comes to it. So we'll see.
Yeah, I got one she can borrow if she needs to. Okay, so I got some charts people want to look at if you're done.
All right, let's go.
All right, let's look at some chart Monday charts. Gotta love them. First one, BMNR, Bitmine Emerson Technologies. And the first thing I look at is I come down here and it's got really low volume. If you look right here, there's your volume. I'm going to roll it across 26,000, 12,000, 45, 67,000, 54,000. So again, we run into that volume issue. I wrote about it. It's in my office. You can go look at volume and why it's important. Okay. The interesting thing about BMNR, even if the volume is low, you've come down, we've hit that support line like we're watching on United Health and like we've watched on several companies. If you don't mind the volume, which I do, it's too low for me. You do see, as you go back just a bit, go back year to date, you do kind of see it bouncing between this resistance level and this support level. Okay. So if you could get that price action above the 9 and get the momentum back on the oscillators, the opportunity might be that it goes back up to this level of resistance. And again, you've got the 200 right there in the 50, and the 50 is a tough level too. But you might be able to go from wherever it is right now, 426, and up to 760. But it's a risk with the low volume. But you can go back and use history if you want. If the 200 is still coming down, it's a higher risk. I don't know what happened here to make this spike up to that point. If I go back let's go back 2 years and see what's going on with this guy. Yeah, he's if you drew a line right here, it came down and broke through it, but it could not maintain that. So I don't know what happened here. And you did have volume spikes back here, 877,000, okay, 241,000, 286, and then we went right back down into, the 40s. So again, just be careful. It's, you might be able to get back up to this resistance level, like I said, but it's not something that would meet my criteria just because of the volume. But my criteria is not everyone's criteria, so you have to trade as your trading plan is. But it has support right here. Let's see if we can get above that 9, and you might be able to ride a little bit up, even though the volume is really, really low on this. NCLH. This one is actually on or under the 200 list. I just didn't go over it because we have so many on there. This one has popped over the 9. We got the 9 crossing the 20. It's coming up. This is a Norwegian cruise. Again, I don't like to buy it on Bollinger Band. If you can get it where it comes down, if you're going to buy into it, get a little bit of a discount down here. You can see right here, you can draw a line right there, and maybe you put in a buy there if your trading plan allows for it. Your oscillators are looking pretty good. You do have some sells at 2079. You closed at 2018. So, to get in a better cost basis would certainly help you out before you hit that first level of sell orders. So NCLH. Matt, you just stocks I've not, Mattel. Mattel, okay, look at this. It's played along the 200, finally catching some momentum with this market. We're above the 9. Went up to the Bollinger Band. We're starting to see the Bollinger Bands expand. We got the 50 heading up, 20 heading up, the 9 heading up. We go down, look at the MACD. MACD just barely crossed over. Stochastic's over, and we got an RSI at 60. Again, I try to get this. I don't try to buy them above the Bollinger Band. If you can get it on a little bit of a sale and then ride this up, you have resistance at 2028. You're at 1980 right now, so you got a little bit of up. You can see it is a pretty good level of resistance. We came back and hit it 4 times in May. So again, with this market, if this is actually a run on the market, and we see all boats are rising with the tide, we might see a lot of these bust through some resistance. But right now, this hasn't been the case with Mattel. BCS. BCS has come up. Barclays ADR. Okay, this is a foreign stock running through an ADR. Okay, so we come up, we've hit resistance, tried to break above it, came back down. We're a little bit above that in the Bollinger Band. Let's look at the volume. Is pretty good on this. Again, you have resistance. It doesn't mean you can't roll up where the support is. This is where traders believe that it may get up to. It's right in the upper Bollinger Band. I like to see it on the inside before I would get in, but I don't like to trade above resistance. But again, that's my trading plan. That fits my trading style, and it not necessarily the trading style for everybody in this group. We all have different risk tolerances. I have very low risk tolerance. I don't like to risk money. But again, this definitely has some momentum heading in the right direction, but you do have this resistance right here. And CAVA. Cava Group. This one's interesting in the fact, let's check volume. Volume's good. Let's check oscillators above the MACD, above the stochastic. We're at 45 on the RSI. I like to see that at 50, but we had a pop up 2 days above the 9. We're having issues right here at the 20, getting by the 20. Okay, so that's been our area of resistance, but we are above the 9. We're starting to see a little bit of a move up on the 9. Again, we came down, hit this level of support. Really, we tested it, came back up, tested it, came back up, tested it, came back up. And now we're starting to see maybe that shape back up. If it does go up and you do get in, you do have resistance. You have 3 levels of resistance right along here. You've got intermediate resistance level at 8170. And then you've got sell orders right above that. And then you've got the Bollinger Band. And then if it gets past that, the 50. So you got a lot of linebackers here trying to stop you from running a touchdown ball across the goal line, but you got a little bit of room on Kappa Group again as a swing trade. As an investment, we're way below the 200. Let's go back and take a look 2 years back and see how this is done. Oh, okay. So it was above the 200 for a while, and it came back down and crossed again. So and then we got the 200 actually moving down. So that's generally not a good trend for your 200. You want to see an upwardly moving 200. So that's all that I had on the chart. Is there any more on there, Trent, that I can't see on the chat?
I don't see Brian asks about are there any stocks on Kerry's um list? Are any of them looking good? I think pretty much there's quite a few that are doing looking very well. A lot of them are trading above my 15, my trade intermediate trend lines as well as the 200. So just a matter of taking a look at them. Mark, I wanted to hit, we don't talk about many crypto stocks other than
Right.
Bitcoin. And I wanted to just to point out four of them that are some of the bigger market cap crypto stocks to
Okay,
give you an
sounds good.
idea what they look like. Um, let's see here. All right, so this is Ripple XRP. As you all know, I use the 200 as the red line. The yellow line is my intermediate trade line. And then the white line is the trade trend line, very short term indicator. And what you can see in Ripple, and Ripple is popular because of its payment processing utility. Um, American Express, I believe Chase, a handful of the other financial institutions bought into this and started using their platform as a utility long ago. May not be as popular as some of the new ones have come out, but as you can see, a lot of these, Ripple has been basically trading sideways since December and still trades below now today trades below the 200, below the intermediate, and is caught between the trade and intermediate trend lines. RSI is around 51.48. A lot of these, in comparison to Bitcoin, it's not moving like you would think it would. Um, ETH, Ethereum, similar situation. Ethereum was like there's Bitcoin and then there was Ethereum, and Ethereum had this utility. Their utility was to build other projects on top of that, and it was really the first to hit the market in that way. Yet since really December of last year, it's never really traded. It broke through the 200 in February and has found that to be resistance this whole time. Now, it is trading above the intermediate trend and really squeezed in between the 200 and the intermediate trend, but the RSI is 51. There is hope here, I guess you could look at it. The RSI is passing through the 50 mark, but still, it's been just battling the 200 for a while in comparison to Bitcoin. It's like Bitcoin's just really that's where the money has been flowing. A lot of that can be attributed to institutional investors as well. Let me get Solano up here. What is Solano's SOLUS? Here we go. Solano is another platform, payment processing, transactional. It's a lot faster than, say, Ethereum. So this has been adopted that way, but still struggling to get above the 200, struggling to stay above the intermediate, and really squeezed in between the trade and intermediate trend lines. And I think this is, one of those things that I look at and I go, why isn't the rest of the crypto market? And I know somebody's going to come out and say there's some, meme coins and stuff that are killing it, and you're absolutely right. Trying to find Binance here if I can find it. Um, that's not it. Anyhow, what I'm seeing overall is if you're investing in Bitcoin into crypto, where all the money is really flowing to right now is still that Bitcoin thing. And from my perspective, Bitcoin's above the 200, above the intermediate and trade trend line, but is really in this sideways movement and been battling this December, January, May resistance levels. And it's like, okay, what's going to bring on more risk into this market and where's that money going? And my bet right now is primarily the money's all going to flow towards Bitcoin because of IBIT, because of BlackRock, because of all these big institutions adopting it, because of all that kind of thing. So when you're looking for opportunities in a sense in crypto, the foundation is Bitcoin, in my opinion. The others, they're right now they're struggling. Now there are some small meme coins that there's a zillion shares of, and you get a point zero, a 10% pop or 100% pop off a what my what 1/100th of a penny. Uh, but really, if you're looking for an intermediate to long term perspective, Bitcoin seems to be still be that the foundation there.
There's a lot of institutional interest now with the the ETFs and now the legislation has just been positive under this new administration. Now banks can can hold Bitcoin for customers. There's just a lot of things out there. And the thing that I found this weekend was this story that came out about in-kind redemptions. And what an in-kind redemption is, and this is supposedly coming uh, to our ETF. So if you own an ETF that's underlining uh, commodity is Bitcoin, and you want to get out of it right now, when you sell it, they give you US dollars back. Okay. So if it's $50 a share and you own one share, you get $50. Now, what they're talking about is when you take your $50 out, they will give you $50 of Bitcoin now. Okay. Which is another huge thing uh, for this industry. Uh, and so if that comes through, anyone who has, got into the IBIT, uh, or any of the Bitcoin ETFs would virtually be owning that Bitcoin now, as opposed to they didn't before. So that's another big, plus, I think, for the Bitcoin market, not to mention, over 150 companies are now starting a Bitcoin treasury like MicroStrategy has done. You've got several countries with Bitcoin in a reserve. The US is looking at doing that. They do have 200,000 Bitcoin. I mean, and there's only 21 million available before the ones that were lost. So it's a supply demand issue too. So I mean, I've been in it since 2020. I've never sold a Bitcoin, but that's just me. I've done a lot of research into it. So if you're going to get into crypto, and whether it's Bitcoin or Ethereum or anything that Trent brought up, make sure you know what you're getting into. Okay, like anything else, like you're buying a stock. Make sure if you're doing it for the long term, you know what that is. Go to Kerry's wealth of information and look it up. And if it's not there, ask Kerry to run you, a Goldman Sachs Kerry report on it, and he will.
I think one thing about crypto people aren't aware of is Bitcoin has what, 21 million that will eventually be available on the market. A lot of these other cryptos have billions of shares, and those billions get what they call burnt off, basically, meaning over time that number of shares will decline. But when you're talking, 100 million, a billion shares, you talk about dilution, and it takes a lot to move one of these up. And I think that's why we're seeing some of this sideways stagnation kind of movement in some of these other cryptos. Whereas Bitcoin, it's a fixed number, 21 billion, as Mark pointed out. I think what 13 to 15 billion has not has been bought but never introduced to the market. It's been basically taken off the market. And I think after you take out the ones that have been lost, the keys that have been lost, it comes down to like 3 to 5 billion, three
Million.
to 5 million that are actually available on the market. So it's that whole supply demand element that really could drive Bitcoin a lot higher in the near future. Whereas if you look at some of these others, there's just so many shares, and it would take a, just a massive amount of accumulation or burning off of the shares to make a really humongous move like we've seen with Bitcoin.
Yeah, I got a few here. Let's see. Thanks, Mark, for talking about Bitcoin. If you are older, safer to buy a proxy like Riot, Mara, CLSK, and a few others. Well, I think those are really tied into Bitcoin. A lot of those are miners. Um, so I personally own IBIT. I bought it when it first came out. That's the ETF that we were just talking about. I personally own MicroStrategy or Strategy, and I bought that a long time ago when Michael Saylor started his ideas into a Bitcoin treasury company, and that's done very well. But they always say that if you're going to get into it, those are leveraged. Like MicroStrategy is leveraged like 1.5 times either way of the price of Bitcoin. It might be better just, you can buy Bitcoin, go to a Coinbase account. If you want to buy Bitcoin, open an account. You can buy $5 worth. You can buy $5,000 worth. You can buy $100 worth. Every Bitcoin is broken up into 100 million Satoshis, and you can buy Satoshis. And a lot of people are trying to say, well, when I first started talking about it on this channel, it was at 65,000. Okay, and I told you the story about my friends. I told them for 6,500, they'd own 1/10 of a Bitcoin. Okay, and if it went to 100,000, which it has, now they'd have over $10,000, and that was less than a year ago that I said that we had that discussion. If it goes to $1 million, like some people say, and you have 1/10 of a Bitcoin, you bought it at $6,500, you're at $100,000 now. Okay, so that's just the power. And if you look at Bitcoin since its inception, and I have since 16 years ago in 2009, it's gone up on average about 60% a year. Okay, not every year, but out of those 16 years, I think there were only 3 years where it was down. And I can pull the charts up on a future call, but that's why I like it. It's rare, it's digital, and if you look at what's digital, we put our photographs are digital. Okay, our communication is now digital. Okay, everything's digital, and our money, will become digital more than it is now. And I believe that as a store of value, Bitcoin's just one of those areas like gold or silver, but it's digital value, store of value, and that's why I like it. So to answer your question, long question short, it's really up to you. I don't think they're any safer than Bitcoin. Bitcoin doesn't have a chairman of the board. It does not have a board of directors. It does not have, things that can happen to a company. So Bitcoin to me is a little bit safer, but that's just me personally, not financial advice.
I think the beauty about Bitcoin is the adoption element. You think about go back, I mean, what, 2017, it was around like $230. And as adoption has come, people have adopted it, and especially with this administration now, and BlackRock and all these companies now, they're accumulating shares based on their ETFs. Just the simple supply demand adoption, formula. It's, the more and more you see focus on this and institutions moving towards this direction, it's just going to be, it will mathematically go up. It's not a matter of feelings or will it be the currency of the world or will it be a replacement for gold? It's just math. And the more you have that supply demand adoption formula, yeah, it's going to go through ups and downs, but it's going through less ups and downs recently. The volatility is getting less and less because of the adoption element of it, for sure.
Yeah, and the rarity of it now too. Like you said,
Yeah.
there's just nothing out on the exchanges. So, and again, we focus mostly on equities, but again, for me personally, I have a lot. I've been in this a long time, and I've studied this a lot. I mean, as far as trading and investing, and I see, for me personally, something like Bitcoin, and Trent knows I'm not a maximalist for sure, but I sure do have a lot invested in that because, and it's been a good payoff for me over time. Now, they always say if you're not going to be in it for at least 4 years, don't get into it, because it's going to give you a heart attack because of the
Yeah.
swings that it has. But over the last cycle, it hasn't swung as much as it is, and because of what Trent just described.
Yeah. My wife, I had this discussion about 2 years ago about selling our house. We're about a 5-minute walk from the beach, the Gulf of America. And she says, if we just wait 5 years, our house will be worth a lot more. We'll go through a cycle, a downturn, and then we'll move higher. And as she pointed out, they're not making any more land. It's a rarity. And as they fill up the land, there'll be less places to build a house that are this close to the beach. And so the value of our home will go up in value. And I'm like, well, for a person who doesn't talk about supply and demand all that much, that's a really good insight. This is the same thing, in my opinion, is supply and demand. How much more demand? And that's why we're seeing less and less volatility in Bitcoin in comparison to in the last couple of years, 5 years. So it's one of those. I think it's like gold. Gold is rare, but they're still mining it. I don't know how much gold there is. They may hit a reserve that's just gigantic and then dilute the gold market. But I don't know. I think it's one of those. It can be one of those poor holdings in your portfolio that could
I was
increase in value over time.
I don't know if you guys are familiar with Rick Edelman. He's a financial guy. He's had his own radio show. He sold his Edelman Financial to, a big company, and he's still out there. And I put it on the Platinum Crypto channel, a story about him. He's now recommending like 20 to 40% of your portfolio should be. And I'm not saying you should do this, but he is now saying 20 to 40% into crypto or Bitcoin right now as a future builder of wealth. And I'm not saying that's right, but as a guy that has some credibility and lots of books and things, that was shocking to me to hear that, because BlackRock went from 1% to 2 to 3% to up to 5% now, in Bitcoin. So we're starting to see things change among these institutional giants. And Larry Fink went from a denier and a hater to a supporter. He's the CEO of BlackRock. Of course, he's making a lot of money off of it. And you just saw J.P. Morgan. Diamond hasn't come around, but his company does deal in Bitcoin now, because he says if you want to buy it, you can buy it. But he's making money too off of it. So
Yeah. I mean,
we're
you
seeing
think
it
about
enough.
it, that's all this is about is these guys, they just want to make money. They gotta appease their shareholders at the end of the day.
I saw someone in here had a BITO, which is an ETF, deals in the futures. I have some of that too. It gives you a monthly dividend, and he has CONY, which is a covered call strategy for Coinbase. And Coinbase is another stock that's really tied into not just Bitcoin, but the entire Bitcoin industry. And we've seen what's happened to them, and they just got included into an indice. MicroStrategy, if it matters to anybody, I think in 4 or 5 days the S&P is going to come out with their upgrades of who gets in the S&P, and there's a talk out there about MicroStrategy because of their valuation in the billions of dollars now, actually going into the S&P. If that happens, typically you see MicroStrategy or those stocks go up, like you saw Coinbase go up when that happened to them. Okay.
Somebody pointed out CONL is a 2 times Coinbase account, ETF, I think it is.
CONY.
Take, huh?
CONY.
CONL, like
CONL.
Larry. Yeah. Take an account. Yeah, it's great on the upside, but two
Oh,
times leverage means you got 2 times the momentum downward as well. So be careful of leveraged funds because they do go down faster than they at times when markets go down.
here's another one that I actually have. I'll show it. And you got to be careful. This is one of those covered call strategies, and it's on MicroStrategy. It's Misty, yield maxes. and they provide a monthly dividend like CONY. The problem you have with these is called NAV degradation. And what do I mean by that? It means if they pay out too much dividends, if you get in up here, your value that you bought at, your principal goes down. You may have bought here at 44, and you're still getting monthly dividends, but your stock is now worth 21. Okay, so you've lost half of your value of your principal. But then you got to go consider how much did I make back in dividends? Like here it paid $1.47. Here it paid $2.37. These are monthly. Here it paid $1.33. Here it paid $1.37. Over here it paid $3.08. Up here at the top it paid $4.42. Okay, so it degrades because when you have a dividend, it takes it out of the shares of, it takes your shares and it drops it by that much. If you're at a $40 stock, you pay a $4 dividend, it'll drop you down to $36. So unless the underlying security, which is MicroStrategy, goes up and keeps it going up, you're going to have this degradation. But you see, how volatile it is. So you have to be prepared mentally and regularly that you might lose a lot of your principal, but you make it up in maybe your dividends. So just be careful in those kind of strategies. And CONY is the same way. It just does it for Coinbase. Okay.
There was a question by Robert Berry about I did two videos, one on trailing stops using trailing stops, and then another one using the 200 day moving average. What those videos were about was creating a risk management process, and the 7% trailing stop was a more intermediate to long-term approach. So if you buy a stock, let's say you bought the S&P today at open at $617 on the SPY, your trailing stop would be then 7% below that. And as the S&P went up, the trailing stop would rise as well, preserving profits. And if it comes down, it'll trigger and sell out of it. 7%, in my opinion, is a pretty sizable amount for an index. For NVIDIA, I think the average movement daily standard deviation of NVIDIA is about 3%. So you could have these swings, but you're still in the game. The other video was using the 200 as your indication of long-term investing. We talk about it all the time. It's the Paul Tudor Jones indicator that he uses quite a bit. And that is, if the stock is trading above the 200, you're in good place to be. Once it breaks through the 200, I talked about reducing your allocation in a position, because once you get below the 200, not a lot of good happens. It just typically falls. And we've seen that in, the index, SPY, as an example, broke through the 200 back in, what is that, March 10th, and did not break back through it until May 12th. So using that as your sort of line in the sand, it's a simple way to do it. You can use it on a mutual fund. You can use it in really anything. It's really just a simple approach. And those two videos were about how to apply risk management there. So depending on your time frame and or time that you can allocate, 200 is real simple approach. Using a 7% trailing stop on stocks indexes is also another approach, a little bit more sensitive than say than 200, but can also preserve a lot of profits.
Got a question from LeBrian. He says, I know your answer's up to you, but what would you say is a good allocation percentage of a person's portfolio should be in Bitcoin? Well, you answered your own question. It is really up to you and your risk tolerance. But, for me personally, and if it was a friend talking to me, and I'm not giving recommendations, but I think you have to have some type of an allocation to it, just as you would with gold or silver or any kind of other other type of non-standard uh, uh, investment type. I mean, some people have art, some people have vintage cars, some people, those are all considered investment classes. Some people have real estate. So Bitcoin, I mean, depending on what you want, your risk, anything, if you took a portfolio, I think Trent, you do what, 8%, no more than 8% of your portfolio of any one thing.
Yeah,
Okay,
I
so I
agree.
mean,
Yes.
his plan is 8%. I'm not going to have 8% or an 8% of Nvidia or 8% of Microsoft or whatever he has, and so you got to figure out what that is for you. It may be 8%, it may be 5%, it may be 3%. It's what you feel comfortable with. It can be volatile, but I think it's worth having. You know, just like diversifying your portfolio into stocks and bonds the way you want to do it. Any
Yeah.
more on that,
And
Trent?
I'll give you a reason why I sort of draw the line at 8%. And that is because I remember when I first became a financial advisor around 2000. I remember people coming with their 401ks in Bell South, if you remember Bell South stock, and they would be 100% allocated to Bell South because they worked for Bell South, right? Enron, another example
Enron.
of that.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, where's Bell South today? Gone. Well, these people lost enormous amounts of money in Bell South because they were so allocated to it. They just blew their retirements out of the water. Whereas 8%, in my opinion, that is like a max. Some people say no more than 5%. But to me, if you're using a 12 position portfolio, 8% equals that right at just under 100% allocation. If it blows up, it doesn't kill you, as long as everything else isn't 100% correlated to that one position. And I think that's where any position, you're still protected. And that's why I use 8% in that place. I just don't put 100% into something. You got a 100% chance of blowing yourself up. And I have done that. So take
Yeah.
that into account.
Yeah, you do. You have to take that into account. That's a very true. Anything can happen at any time. And Trent and I were talking this morning about before we got on just the momentum of the market, how we've seen it go from that sideways pattern to now it's starting to swing. You're seeing all this news, and the happiness is coming back in, and so maybe the euphoria. And I said, I just feel like we're playing with Jenga. We're pulling out little blocks here and there, and just like the Big Short. And which block will be the one that takes the euphoria away? And it could go on for a long time, but who knows? It won't go on forever.
Yeah. And it's always something that is fundamentally broken that you just don't see that breaks. I mean, what did I see the other day? Banks are like because they have to hold treasuries, they're like 4 billion or 440 billion underwater. I mean, actually, I think it's like 400 billion underwater because of the treasuries they own. They bought back in 2020, and now those yields are like up here. They're underwater, and so they're not looking good. At some point, that's gonna hurt them, and so it's that kind of thing that hurts you. And I think over allocating, over risking can really get you into trouble. It isn't what you know, it's what you don't know that's gonna get you.
Yeah. Dave just said I saw the same thing at Sprint. I took a huge loss with Sprint stock.
Yeah,
You
but
see that
and
you see
that's
that a
where
lot with companies where you have options to buy, put your 401k all into the company stock. And a lot of people do that.
yeah. Well, I know the 401k world regulations on 401k. I don't think they're allowed to offer stock in their 401ks anymore. I've been out of the mix for a while on that, but we used to manage about 200 million in 401k money, and you never saw the stock of a publicly traded company in a 401k. And I think a lot of that has to do with Enron, MCI, all those companies that blew up. So, all right, we're at markets open. It's what, 8:30 Central, 7:30 my time here in the mountains. we'll be back here tomorrow. Remember, Friday we will not be having the call because it's 4th of July. Take a day off, enjoy the day, and we'll go from there. But we'll be back here tomorrow, same time, same place, and we'll see you soon. Nice shirt, Mark.
Morning Edge.
Buy your shirt, your Morning Edge shirt. Support the channel. So anyhow, y'all have a great day, and we'll
See you
talk to you
guys.
soon.
Have a
See ya.
good one.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Thanks, guys.